How do you deal with a narrow-minded audience? That's the question I got last night when I was a guest in an interview on a clubhouse room meeting. Do you ever get one of those questions that in the moment it takes you off guard and you don't know how to answer it, and you lay awake most of the night trying to figure it out, and then the next day when it's too late and everybody's gone, you have an answer? Well, there you go. I'm not sure it's the right answer, but I want to answer his question now. And I hope he's watching. So we asked the question, how do you handle a narrow-minded audience? And by asking the question, he didn't really get the response from the room that he wanted. People were taken aback by the question itself and found fault with it. I, however, appreciate questions like that, because how can we have a conversation if people aren't willing to really share the real question that's on their heart? So I applaud his bravery, even though he might not have realized it, to say the quiet part out loud. And so I went to bed last night wondering, how do you deal with a narrow-minded audience? And the first way I would answer that question is by saying, number one, if this is the question you're asking, then you're not in the right room. If you're going up onto a stage, or whatever your platform may be or may look like, or whatever your microphone in life may look like, and you are thinking to yourself, these are a bunch of narrow-minded people, if that's the story that you're writing, you have already lost. You will not be able to connect to narrow-minded people, because you're going into a room calling them that, whether you say it out loud, whether you say the quiet part out loud or not. So the first thing I would suggest is, if you feel your room is filled with narrow-minded people, then go find a room where people all think and feel the same way that you do. And you will be happy all day long, and you will connect because you can go deeper into your messaging. However, there's a beauty in being in a room where people don't understand what you're talking about, or they don't get it, or they may not see the same way as you. And in the speaking business, or in the business, or anywhere where we're using our story to influence, most of us are trying to persuade a room full of people to change the way they think, to open up their mind, to explore a new concept, to present something to them to which they may not have ever been exposed to before. And if you see your audience as simply, well, they're just narrow-minded, and you're going to, in essence, blame the audience for not getting what you're telling them, you're missing a powerful opportunity. Because I would say, I'm trying to sugarcoat it. Can you see I'm working really hard to think about my words, and that it's hard for me to do, because if I'm going to be blunt, I would say it's not their job to get it. It's your job to educate them. You have the platform. You have the microphone. You're the one that came into this room wanting people to hear about what you have, whatever your solution is. If you've got a message for the world, then you've got a solution to a pain that they have, or a desire that they seek. So it's not their job to get you. It's your job to explain this in a way that they can understand. I have a dear friend who actually was the one who invited me on this podcast, who does a work I do not understand, healing, energy. I don't understand most of it. And because she never saw me as narrow-minded, we were able to move closer, and I was receptive and open to what she had to teach me about it. But if she had simply shut that door because, oh, well, she's narrow-minded, maybe not even knowing if that was the truth, instead of saying, this is just something she has not had exposure to yet and doesn't understand, then we would have been at an impasse. So let me answer the question is, let's change it though. Not how do you deal with a narrow-minded audience? Why don't we say, how do you connect with an audience that tends to be critical of your message, that tends to have their arms crossed, that already has objections to what you're going to say. Now, the first question I want to ask is, why don't they just believe you and accept what you have to say is truth as soon as you stood up there? Why are they not just falling at your feet saying, you're amazing, this is true, tell us everything you have? Why aren't they doing that? Why are their arms crossed? Because they don't know you. They don't trust you. They might not like you. And they're not sure whether to believe you. They're coming with this story that they've written as well. It's not their fault. It's what we all do. It's what you did if you called them narrow-minded. So they're not lowering their arms because they just don't know you yet. They don't trust you. The world is full of messaging, and not all of it is true, and not all of it is good. So they're bringing their own history. Maybe they've already had exposure to this message and it betrayed them, because you know there are people in your industry who are not doing a good job of it. So you just never know. Excuse me. I would also say that you might not be explaining it to them in a way they can understand. I'll repeat that. You might not be explaining it to them in a way they can understand. And I don't mean, can we understand your accent? That's not what I mean. I mean, you're speaking a language we don't understand because your entire message, your industry, your solution is wrapped in terms that we're not used to. It's a context we're not familiar with. They don't see how you can help them. And you're using data, not story. So let me give you some ways that you can connect to that audience who is critical of your message. First of all, don't just tell them what they need to do. You need to connect your solution to the pain you know they have or the desire you know they want. Next thing, do you know the pain they have? The desire they want? How it's making them feel to have this pain or this desire? Maybe you need to go back and do a little more research. Know exactly what you offer and how it can help them. Beyond just a list of talking points. This isn't a lecture. We're trying to persuade people here. So know exactly what you offer and how that can help them. Next, have an example, a story about someone who had a similar pain or desire to them and how your solution helped them. Then tell them a personal story about how this helped you or someone you love and why this work matters to you. Then make sure they understand the concept. They may understand your words, but the idea is foreign to them. So relate it to something they do understand and believe in. Someone may not understand how the inside of their computer works, but if you relate it to how a car runs, something I use every day and have had years of experience with, then it will make more sense. Analogies are stories that do make sense to help you teach a concept that we're not used to. And then finally, have a really clear understanding of who your specific audience or buyer or listener or who the one you really want to speak to is, so that you can choose stories that mirror them. If you speak to everyone, I think you end up speaking to no one. So there's the answer that finally came to me about 8 hours later. I hope it helps you connect with an audience that is critical of your message, because your message matters. Your story is important. If you need more help, hey, join me in storyimpactnetwork.com, where we talk about story all the time, or go deeper and enroll in Story Impact Academy, storyimpactacademy.com, where we help you master those moments that matter. Okay, y'all, have a good day. Bye.